does also, but it's not like that. What you do is, affinity is basically, it keeps a check of how likeliness am I to a particular attribute vis-a-vis the base. So I'll tell you how it is calculated, affinity. It will be this 18 divided by 16 or multiplied by 100. Okay. Now, for example, in this case, it will be 15 by 20 into 100. That is what? 5 to the 15, 5 to the 20, 4 to the 25. 75. This is 75. This is not a good sign. In case of affinity, for example, in this case, it would be I think it will be 110. So in this case, gadget is a more likely combination. I'll tell you why. According to basic statistical rule, any number when you do a affinity grade, affinity is nothing but checking your component versus vis-a-vis the base component. Anything which is higher than 100 is a good sign. That means it's more likely. Anything which is lower than 100 is a lethargic. That means they are not that in tune with it. So in this case, we can choose to ignore 75. Whereas this, although the base population might be low, the base population probably, say for example, in this case it is 1000. In this case it might be just 100. But this is more likely because they are more likely to respond. Huh? No.
It's a subset of base, right?
No. This is, I'm talking about the universe. I'm talking about TG. So this is TG population. Suppose this is TG population, 100 was the absolute sense of 100 population. And suppose your base population is 1000. Base population obviously is higher. Base population is 1000. That means this is 16% of 1000. This is 18% of 100. Okay. Now it's clear, right? So now in this case, what happens is this shows that my affinity to that, or my likeliness for that particular attribute, is much higher and much stronger. That means whatever I do in this space has a higher chance of being accepted. That's why these numbers, like although the base is low, it's very negligible, it's 9%, but your likeliness for this audience to accept it is higher. This I showed separately because this is probably not there in the affinity part of it. But whenever you're plotting it out, be careful, you always index it. So your likeliness is not counted. Then we get so many things. Let's see, for example, travel. Like, there's a huge chunk of population which is like completely huge. Therefore, you have described the big five as in the big five passion groups that exist in the. And the next step is, what do I do with these? The next step is understanding what are the problems that are faced by this scientific cluster of people. They find it difficult to say no to kids. They surf for content on kids and parenting. They buy toys at least once a month. Read articles on baby and child in newspapers and magazines. That means the fairly evolved audience which seeks for information, which considers information, which probably works on that information. So this is a good space where probably a mother-child care product can get into. Maybe a Horlicks can enter it. Then news. See, reads more than 2 people a week. Maybe reads news and section of newspapers, chooses based on programs and all. Chooses to watch the news based on channels and programs. She has a point of view. Okay, right? She's fairly informed. Now, the kind of question a media manager or an agency person or a marketer would ask is consumer contact opportunities based on the insights that we have developed, and therefore consumer contact selections. Now, contact selection is have the target's media consumption have been fulfilled, and whether the brand's contacts selected by the basis of are meaningful to the consumer's business insight. So what this is trying to find out is, based on whatever attributes that I have defined, are those vehicles or are those contact points which I am finding out, are they relevant? Again, suppose for example this lady back here is very evolved. Okay, she is very much onto those information space, and if I start advertising on SARS is very low, Star Plus, then it won't really make a difference. It won't work. Similarly, even if I am working on the same spectrum where she is operating, if my message is not relevant, she will not take it. For example, if I am advertising other Bhaktis and I am doing it on a news channel where she is probably looking for a more relevant information source, she will not be interested. So all these details will map it. So those consumer attributes will also help you identify what channel, what journals, which publications, what time, radio for that matter. I tell you what, radio has a very interesting thing. Radio, when FM radio started, it was very different. Because that's a time when people used to listen to it all the time. Because that's the time MP3 downloads, then your CD players and iPods weren't there. So people were very much into radio space, FM and FM. I remember episodes. Yeah, there was only songs, exactly. And they used to play new songs. What else? I mean, I still remember when I was in Pune, that's the first time radio pictures started off in Pune. I was I think like 30 or something, second year. So everybody was very excited. Would radio picture did a road show, this and that. They are famous, so-called that time. Nobody knew those artists, but they were called famous artists. They were parading and everything. So, but now radio is a very functional thing. Nowadays, radio listenership in an SSC AP household has really gone down. Nowadays, radio's prime time has shifted. Now the prime time is drive time. When people are driving to work, when people are driving back home, probably if they are going out on meetings enough. Then again, so when we are planning, when whoever is planning onto a radio plan, or whenever anyone is trying to advertise on a radio plan, they would prefer doing it only on weekends. Weekends, on the contrary, are relatively exempted for more serious brand operators. The reason being, weekends probably are out with your family, so you're not into the phase of listening, or probably you're not switched on the radio at all. And so things like these, they keep on working based on the consumer habits which keeps on evolving. So these are the things you need to really be focused on. Okay, now see, now this is how the plan is there. This is what you're going to do on the plan. We'll take a news. Now what I'm going to do on the news, I'm going to put an insert on the weekly newspaper. I'm going to put a 1 minute mock news and run it on a high frequency. Then I'll have static text bullets on headlines. That is static text bullets I'm telling you about. They have headlines coming in. There are certain information which is just there. Headlines normally keep on moving. But these static text, they are just there. Then I can brand that static. And then there are news embedding which happens. Then there are use of PR, get mileage. So these are things which are again rotating on the same journal. This I've decided I'm going to take this journal up, and these are what the things I'm going to probably do differently. Okay, now this is again an example for you to understand. This would be typically once you get your media plan, once you have your insights drawn, then you need to figure out which medium to use when, right? And this is the source is TGI, so we normally use IRS for this case, but TGI also has cinema is not there on IRS. So what it does is it gives you a reach level. Indexing which I was telling you about, now see, they are very similar reach levels. Although this is not the base, this is not the reach. Okay. So, but this is an indexing which is relatively high, so you can probably do it. But I have taken these only because their indexing are much more high. But see, a lot of times you have to make a trade-off decision because, for example, in this case, the internet base cannot be a lead medium. It can be a substitute medium, it can be a support medium. It cannot be a lead medium. The reason being, although it has a very, very high affinity to it, very, very high likeliness to it, but the base is, as the penetration of the product is very less. The medium is very less. So this is the place on which you actually select your media vehicle, which media vehicle to use when. Beyond which, again, depends upon completely on the contextual part of it, what you want to do. Therefore, this is how it goes into. The travelers skewed towards print, radio, and cinema, and business travels. See, these are all your affinity groups. These are on city level actually. Same thing happening on city level. See, the line is the affinity order, which again is the same thing. It's being defined on a different. This is the way you can actually represent the data. This is actually to make you understand better. As in, whenever you're getting those data points, if you put them on a graph, it becomes easier to understand. See, now you can see magazine is relatively high for the first time. He or she is probably looking for information. I was trying to see which place it was. Like for example, if I take Outlook traveler, try to figure out, okay, I see this place, it's good enough. I'll try to find some information there. Internet is very high because it's a very high search. People do a lot of research nowadays before buying anything or traveling anywhere. Like for example, coming here, I didn't know this place where it was located. So I went, Bhavin gave me some direction which I would want to make a head of the round. Because I rarely travel this part of the town. So what I did was I just opened the Google search on Google Maps and it actually gave me the direction. So that's the time when I used it. So that's their probably not getting contact or whatever. So these are basically Tier 1 towns, metros primarily, would have this kind of attitude, whereas the Tier 2 town would have a very, very high skew on probably magazine, because internet penetration is not that high. See, internet base is actually quite low base of all time. This, however, the older data. Now it's increased quite a bit. So this is how you would target it. On Tier 1, you would entice them by giving them offers and this and that. Then showcasing more beautiful locations. Like for example, if I'm a Singapore person, I'll probably give a lot of detail and a lot of make a good package thing kind of thing and give details on that package on a Outlook traveler for that, or maybe on Discovery traveler. Whereas in case of Tier 2 towns who are not very information seekers, they are probably still in the evolving stage. In that case, I'll make them aware and educated. This is what you can do. This is where you need to go to the airport. This from there, you can probably take a flight to from, and then from the airport, what you can do? Where can you get hotels? So in this case, probably I do maybe a ground activity. In this case, where there are repeat travelers, they already know, they have already traveled those places, they already use those facilities. In that case, I will just give them off-rates. Ask a special offer, एक ticket पे दो दूसरा ticket. That's how your message and your what do you call that medium. Like example, your mediums are very different. The mediums will also change, keep on changing. Now, this is again another thing which the next level of question which the marketer would probably ask. He would ask, what is the geographic prioritization? And that's a very important question because with a limited amount of budget, you cannot be everywhere. Right? For example, a client, one of my friends, these are like, it's a fucking chindi client. It's a good client, but they don't have money. There's a lot of processes they have to get into to get money from one project. Now they wanted to do an activity with a crore of a budget, and they have with 1 crore of a budget. They had some 20 markets to advertise. So I was like, "Was either nature like you can't do it. I mean, what you want to do a single day activity with this kind of budget? It's not happening." So then what we did was we said, "Okay, fine, we'll solve the problem. Give me from where your most amount of sales comes from, based on which I can prioritize whether it's a growing market, non-growing market, and then based on the number of outlets and the sales related to the outlets, we found out okay, these are 6 markets which we need to actually concentrate upon, because 80% of your sales are coming from here. The rest of the 20 markets you can consider them with a sales push fashion. You don't need to advertise them. So that helps them. So that is what geographic prioritization goes for. Now, geographic prioritization can be done in several ways. It can be done based on sales. It can be done based on your push, your sales team pushing happening. It's a push and pull, right? The whole sales model rotates on push and pull. Now, for example, in case of a mutual fund activity, I would probably not be very considerate on all the markets, because any which is earlier what it used to be was a very agent-driven activity. Now it's different. Now mutual funds don't have that capitation thing which they used to share with the agent. It's now a free flow thing. Nobody has to pay anything to the agents. So in that case, now again the whole approach would change. Earlier, what used to be is like for some markets they used to advertise, some markets they used to give it to the distributors, the agents who work. Now it's different. Now since the agent doesn't have any incentive to it, now they would be required to advertise almost everywhere. The place of consumption again. In this case it's different because it's a different plan I'm talking about. So place of consumption would be where are they actually consuming that particular product. For example, if I'm an airline guy, I would probably be associated with the help desk, with the travel desk, with maybe hotels. So that's where all this consumption are happening. Okay, now this is again a mutual fund example which I will do. Which will tell you how a population indexing is done. Okay, now this is your overall population, right? Now these are your population for your mutual fund company as a number of outputs that you are having. Now what you do is this is a percentage of people who know about mutual funds in the total population. These are a percentage of people. These are a number of percentage of people of these who are actually investing in this particular stock. This is actually I forgot to mention this one name. So this is whatever X stock. X here is just going here. So now what you do is you need to check an affinity on these. Therefore, you will also know that this is what they are actually getting. So what you can actually treat it as is, suppose there is another one. Oh, sorry, this is a different example. This is your total base population. This is your total sales happening. Okay, and sorry, these are total centers that are there. Now these agents that are there, these are the number of sales contribution that this guy is doing. So this will automatically give you an affinity grade. I said, what is contributing to your primary? You can also do it in absolute level, but in an absolute level, you miss out on the potential of the particular sector. For example, this is contributing 7% with just 38 agents pushing. Okay, whereas this is obviously Mumbai, you can't ignore it, but this is not a very healthy situation. With 126. What do you call the push, you're just getting 23%. It's more cluttered market. It's more cluttered, of course. That's exactly. But since no company normally would ignore Bombay or Delhi and typical metros, especially a financial company, so that has been considered as well. But in terms of indexing also, it's not that great compared to this. This is how you would probably do a market prioritization. So you are not taking all the markets. I'll take few of them. Rest of the markets can be ignored. Okay. Toilet soap example. This is CDI and PI. You guys have done CDI with it? Consumer Development Index and Brand Development Index. Okay, I'll tell you how it works. You don't get that right now. I'll tell you how it works first. See, Consumer Development Index will tell you how your consumer base or your population base is growing in a particular market. What a Brand Development Index does is, it tells you how much is your brand growing vis-a-vis that market. Now you have something like high-low, in which suppose this is VDI on this part of it, and this is CDI as in Category Development Index. Category Development Index. Category. Category means, for example, toilet soaps. That's a category. But Lifebuoy is a brand. Now, what it happens is you have it measured as high, low. Okay? Then again low.
They have two highs.
It's actually tasted wrong. This high, this low, this high. You guys are following Kotla? Kotla also does a similar thing, which is called the cash cow thing. CCG bank. This works on a similar pattern. What happens is, for example, if it's both the conditions in which your brand is also high and the category is also high, that means it has a good sales potential and it's a good place where you can advertise, because whatever little time you will advertise, both are going. See, one way what happens is, if you between what had happened was, although the insurance category was, the brand was not advertising much, but the category was going during recession. So automatically what happened was, even people who did not advertise much about insurance products, they gained, because the category was in the boom. Then what happens is, next part of it comes is, where your brand is low, where your category is high. In that case, what it refers to is, you need to invest a little bit more and try to figure out a solution where you can shift the level to the high part or get as near to high. That means either your sales team is not performing well, or you have not advertised or not generated much. Okay. Now next is, you have a low category, but you have a high brand. In that case, either you are a market leader, or you are like close to being a market leader, as in you are in a high in a position. In that case, what you can do is, you can either choose to ignore at that moment, or what you need to do is, you can try to figure out how well you can. This is the market where you can actually consolidate. And when it comes to both, where your category is low and your brand is low, that means that market doesn't have the potential at all. So in that case, there is no use of spending in those markets. For example, UP or Bihar and TN, category and brands are so low that, like, whatever amount of advertising money that you are spending is not actually returning to sales. So it will be like a total waste. In that case, you probably allot lesser amount of money. Okay, now summarizing market. Therefore, you have arrived at P1, P2, P3 markets. P1, P2, P3 are nothing but giving a weights to priority. Like priority 1 would be obviously higher weights, the maximum amount of your sales and everything is happening. Then you will want to P2 markets. P3 markets are normally treated as spillover markets, in which you don't normally do any kind of mass media activity. Whatever you do it here in this zone, you expect a spillover back here in this market. Or if not, like for example, if I don't take suppose if you have Kerala, which is a very, very isolated market in south, in the country, right? Because TN, AP and all, they still have some kind of a similar spillovers channels. Spillovers as in, suppose in Sun TV may add it's for TN, Sun TV is for TN, right? It will also have a spillover audience in AP, where people also watch the same language. But in Kerala it won't. So in that case, even if it's Kerala, you can probably choose to. Okay. Then next question that we should ask or a marketer should answer is what time, as in how long do I want the activity to be, whether 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it is. Then you also need to understand the seasonality of the brand. Again, now for example, if I am buying an insurance product, it will be typically towards